The Galactic Diplomatic Summit was held, as tradition dictated, on the neutral space station Harmony, a name that had always struck Ambassador Eleanor Ellie Winters as hilariously ironic. The massive rotating wheel of a station had been specifically designed with 13 different atmospheric sections to accommodate the baffling variety of species that made up the Galactic Confederation. Ellie sometimes wondered if the architects had been masochists or just really enjoyed puzzles. "Remember, Ambassador Winters," droned her assistant Marcus, as they walked through the human-compatible airlock. "The Tellurian delegation will attempt to bring up the mining rights dispute. The Varodians might support us if you compliment their recent cultural festival. And please, for the love of all that is holy, try not to mention the great misunderstanding of 2187. Ellie adjusted her simple navy blue suit, a deliberate choice that contrasted sharply with the elaborately adorned garments that were standard diplomatic wear. "That was one time, Marcus. And honestly, how was I supposed to know that lovely weather translates to your offspring smell of decay in Zentorian?" Marcus sighed with the patience of someone who had long ago accepted their fate of serving under humanity's most unorthodox diplomat. "Just follow the protocol guide. Please." The central chamber of Harmony Station was a magnificent dome designed to create the illusion of standing beneath an alien sky currently set to a calming lavender with 3 moons. The delegates from 27 different worlds milled about, creating a cacophony of sounds, smells, and visual displays that would give most humans a migraine. Ellie, however, felt right at home. To her left, a group of Malorians, jellyfish-like creatures that floated in personal gravity bubbles, pulsed with bioluminescent patterns as they communicated. Nearby, the insectoid Celtra delegates clicked and chirped while gesturing with their 4 upper limbs. The reptilian Draconis representatives kept to themselves in their heated section, occasionally flicking their forked tongues at passing delegates. "Ah, Ambassador Winters," came a melodious voice from behind. "Earth continues to send its most unique representatives." Ellie turned to find Ambassador Thallo of the Arcturian Collective, his translucent skin revealing the complex network of glowing veins beneath. The Arcturians had been among the first to welcome humans into galactic society, though their reasons remained suspiciously unclear. "Ambassador Thallo, still rocking the internal light show, I see. Very energy efficient of you." Thallo's expression shifted in what Ellie had learned was their version of amusement. "Your species' penchant for humor remains inexplicable, but oddly refreshing. I trust Earth is prepared for the difficult negotiations ahead?" Many delegates still question humanity's place at this table. "Oh, we're always prepared," Ellie replied with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes, more than anyone realizes. Across the chamber, a commotion drew attention as the Vosic delegation made their characteristically dramatic entrance. Their massive frames, covered in metallic scales that reflected light like polished armor, parted the crowd effortlessly. At their center walked Ambassador Krell, whose reputation for ruthless negotiation was matched only by his undisguised contempt for younger species, humanity being among the youngest. "Let the games begin," Ellie muttered as she straightened her posture and prepared for what promised to be either a diplomatic breakthrough or an interstellar incident. With her record, the odds were about 50-50. The first session of the summit went exactly as most diplomatic gatherings do, excruciatingly boring with momentary flashes of passive-aggressive tension. Delegates presented their formal positions on everything from trade routes to technological exchange protocols, all while pretending they hadn't already decided what they wanted before arriving. Ellie spent most of her time observing rather than speaking, a tactic that never failed to unnerve the other ambassadors. Humans had quickly gained a reputation for being unpredictable, and her silence only amplified their unease. She took detailed notes on her archaic paper notebook, another deliberate choice that mystified the digitally dependent delegates. "The Terran representative seems unusually restrained today," observed Ambassador Kin Toth of the Avian Phyrex Confederation, their head crest feathers rippling with suspicion as they addressed the Malorian beside them. Ellie pretended not to hear, but made a small note in her book. During the mid-session recess, she found herself cornered by Ambassador Krell of the Vosic Empire, his towering figure casting a shadow over her as she sampled what passed for refreshments. "Ambassador Winters," Krell rumbled, his translator struggling to soften the natural harshness of Vosic speech. "Your silence during the session was noteworthy. Has Earth finally learned its place in our cosmic hierarchy? Ellie took a deliberate sip from her glass before responding. Oh, I was just saving my energy for the interpretive dance portion of the proceedings. I've been practicing my humanity demands respect routine for weeks. Krell's scales shifted in what she recognized as irritation. Your species' reliance on humor as a diplomatic tool continues to baffle. Perhaps it masks a fundamental insecurity about your technological inferiority? Or perhaps, Ellie countered with a pleasant smile, we just enjoy watching your scales twitch when you're annoyed. They're doing it right now, by the way. Upper left quadrant. Very fascinating pattern. Before Krell could respond, Marcus smoothly intervened, steering Ellie toward a group of more amenable delegates. That was unnecessary, he whispered. It was entirely necessary, Ellie replied under her breath. Remember Protocol Guideline 17B. Marcus frowned. There is no Guideline 17B. Exactly. I just made it up. But it sounds official, doesn't it? As they approached the Arcturian delegation, Ellie deliberately dropped her notebook. When Ambassador Thallo's assistant bent to retrieve it, she noticed their eyes widening slightly at the page that was conveniently open, showing detailed notes on Arcturian body language and psychological pressure points. Thank you, Ellie said, accepting the notebook with calculated casualness. Just some observations. By the time the session resumed, the whispers had already begun circulating. The human ambassador had detailed profiles on multiple species. The humans were watching, analyzing. The seemingly disorganized Terrans were playing a longer game than anyone had suspected. When Ambassador Krell took the floor to discuss the disputed mineral rights in the Proxima System territory uncomfortably close to Earth, Ellie finally spoke up. The Vosic Empire's proposal fails to account for the ecological impact on the 17 inhabited moons in that sector, she stated flatly. Our surveys indicate a 78% probability of catastrophic biosphere collapse if mining proceeds according to your specifications. Surveys? What surveys? Krell demanded. The Proxima System was only open for exploration last solar cycle. Ellie smiled. We're very efficient. The chamber erupted in murmurs. How had the humans conducted detailed ecological surveys without anyone noticing? What else were they quietly monitoring? As the session concluded, Marcus whispered, that was actually brilliant. Calculated intimidation through implied preparedness. Ellie winked. Who said anything about implied? Day 3 of the summit brought the inevitable crisis point. The central issue, resource allocation in the newly discovered Epsilon Quadrant, had representatives practically hovering over their translator devices in agitation. The Vosic Empire claimed historical rights based on ancient star charts that conveniently appeared from their archives. The Malorians countered with evolutionary adaptation claims, arguing their species was uniquely suited to extract the quadrant's unusual energy sources. Earth, being relatively new to interstellar exploration, was expected to remain silent on the matter, which is precisely why Ellie chose this moment to stand. The chair recognizes Ambassador Winters of Earth, announced the moderator, a synthetic intelligence chosen for its theoretical impartiality. Thank you, moderator, Ellie began, her casual tone a stark contrast to the formal proceedings. I've been listening to everyone stake their claims with great interest. Fascinating arguments all around. However, I feel compelled to point out that the entire discussion is based on fundamentally flawed data. The chamber fell silent. According to our research, the energy signatures detected in Epsilon Quadrant aren't natural resources at all. They're the remnants of an ancient defense system. Any conventional mining operation would trigger catastrophic chain reactions across 3 neighboring sectors. Ambassador Krell rose to his imposing height. And Earth conveniently possesses this crucial information that has somehow eluded the combined scientific communities of the 17 elder species. Not conveniently, Ellie replied with a shrug. We just made it a priority. After first contact, Earth developed specialized analytical protocols for each species we encountered. It seemed prudent. Protocols? Inquired Ambassador Thallo, his internal light network pulsing with increased intensity. What kind of protocols? Oh, Ellie waved her hand dismissively. Scientific analysis, cultural integration strategies, diplomatic approaches, contingency plans. The usual stuff. The room temperature seemed to drop several degrees. Contingency plans, repeated Ambassador Krell, his voice dangerously soft. For each species? Ellie maintained her casual demeanor, though Marcus had gone completely rigid beside her. Of course. Doesn't everyone? She glanced around the suddenly silent chamber. No? Just us? Huh? The diplomatic translator AI sputtered briefly, as if unsure how to convey the mixture of threat and nonchalance in her tone. Ambassador Zeth of the Crystalline Tholians was the first to recover. Ambassador Winters, are you stating that Earth has developed strategic responses in anticipation of potential conflicts with every species represented here? Ellie looked genuinely surprised. Well, not just conflict scenarios. We have cooperative frameworks, too. But yes, we maintain comprehensive analysis and response strategies for various scenarios involving each Confederation member. That's just responsible diplomacy, isn't it? The silence that followed was broken only by the soft hiss of atmospheric regulators. I believe, said Krell, his scales now fully flared in threat display, that the Earth representative has just admitted to preparing for war against every peaceful civilization in this chamber. Ellie rolled her eyes. Please, if we were preparing for war, you wouldn't know about it until it was too late. She paused, realizing too late how that sounded. That came out wrong. What I meant was. But the damage was done. Representatives were already backing away from the human delegation, translators working overtime to keep up with the explosion of alarmed communications. Perhaps the moderator interjected, we should call an immediate recess to allow for consultation among delegations. Ellie sighed and turned to Marcus, who appeared to be contemplating the merits of immediate resignation. Well, she whispered, that escalated exactly as quickly as I expected. The emergency session of the Galactic Council was convened with unprecedented speed. Ellie found herself in the circular chamber normally reserved for matters of interstellar security, facing representatives from the 12 founding species of the Confederation. The architecture was deliberately intimidating, tiered seating that rose so high she had to crane her neck to see the uppermost delegates. Ambassador Winters, began the senior counselor, a Zentorian whose translucent exoskeleton glowed with bioluminescent patterns of concern. Would you care to clarify your earlier statements regarding Earth's contingency plans? Gladly, Ellie replied, standing confidently despite being the focus of hundreds of alien eyes. Earth maintains comprehensive strategic analysis for all potential interspecies scenarios. This is standard protocol for any responsible member of the galactic community. Yet no other species has admitted to such extensive preparation, countered Ambassador Krell, who had been granted special permission to attend the council session. That doesn't mean they don't have them, Ellie pointed out. It just means they're not being transparent about it. A ripple of discomfort moved through the assembly. The Malorian representative pulsed with agitation. Can you explain precisely what these contingency plans entail? They're adaptive response frameworks, Ellie explained. After the Proxima Centauri incident of 2189, Earth realized that misunderstandings between species could quickly escalate. So we developed detailed cultural, biological, psychological, and strategic profiles for each species we encountered. Including weaknesses? Demanded Krell. Including everything relevant to meaningful interaction, Ellie corrected. For instance, we know that Vosic metabolism becomes sluggish when ambient temperatures drop below certain thresholds. That's not intelligence gathering for warfare, that's making sure we don't accidentally freeze Ambassador Krell to death during negotiations. Several delegates nodded thoughtfully at this reasoning. Yet you admit these plans include conflict scenarios, pressed a representative from the silicon-based Gorlax hegemony. Ellie sighed. Look, humanity has a long history of being caught unprepared. We've learned the hard way that hope isn't a strategy. Yes, our contingency planning includes defensive scenarios. But it also includes medical emergency protocols, cultural celebration guidelines, and collaborative scientific endeavors tailored to each species' unique capabilities. How did Earth develop these plans without alerting our security services? Asked the Arcturian representative. We read your publicly available information, Ellie said with a shrug. Most species are remarkably forthcoming about their biology, culture, and preferences in their official documentation. We just paid attention. The council chamber buzzed with uneasy communication. Could you provide an example of these contingencies? Asked the senior counselor. Ellie considered for a moment. When we first encountered the Galactic Confederation, we noted their sensitivity to certain wavelengths of light. Earth immediately redesigned all human Galactic meeting spaces to eliminate those wavelengths. Simultaneously, we developed emergency protocols in case a human facility needed to be quickly evacuated by Galactic visitors. We also identified potential areas for scientific collaboration based on their unique visual processing abilities. And the conflict scenarios? Pressed Krell. Ellie's expression hardened slightly. Those remain classified, as I'm sure your own defensive strategies are, Ambassador. But I assure the Council they are defensive in nature. The interrogation continued for hours, with Ellie carefully revealing enough to demonstrate Earth's thoroughness while avoiding details that might truly alarm the Council. During a brief recess, Marcus approached her in the waiting area. This is unprecedented, he whispered. The Arcturian representative just informed me that several species are considering a motion to restrict Earth's access to shared technology and intelligence. Let them try, Ellie replied calmly. Contingency Plan Theta 5 addresses technology embargo scenarios quite thoroughly. Marcus stared at her. There really is a plan for everything, isn't there? More or less, Ellie admitted. The Xenopsych team back home has been working overtime since first contact. The real question is why other species haven't done the same. Because most civilizations advanced enough for interstellar travel have evolved beyond preparing for the worst, Marcus suggested. Ellie snorted. Or they're lying about it better than we are. When the Council reconvened, the atmosphere had shifted from alarm to wary curiosity. Humanity had always been an anomaly, advancing faster than predicted, adapting with surprising speed, and now revealing a level of preparation that bordered on paranoia. The Council has deliberated, announced the senior counselor. While we find Earth's extensive contingency planning unusual, we acknowledge that no Confederation laws have been broken. However, we request a full review of these protocols by a neutral third party to ensure they align with our principles of peaceful cooperation. Ellie was about to respond when the chamber's emergency signals activated, bathing the room in pulsing red light. The station's AI voice cut through the confusion with artificial calm. Alert. Unauthorized vessels have breached Harmony Station's outer defenses. Security protocols have been compromised. All delegates please proceed to designated safety areas. Pirates, hissed Ambassador Thallo. The Orion Syndicate has been threatening action against the Confederation for months. The Council erupted into chaos as delegates rushed toward the exits. Security personnel attempted to establish order, but the panic was spreading too quickly. Ellie caught Marcus's eye and nodded slightly. He immediately activated his communication device. Protocol Omega-7, he stated clearly. Authorization Winters Delta 9. Ambassador, what are you doing? Demanded Krell as security forces struggled to establish evacuation routes. Implementing the relevant contingency plan, Ellie replied calmly, removing a small device from her pocket. Harmony Station's security was designed by committee, always a mistake. We identified 16 potential breach scenarios 2 years ago. Before Krell could respond, the lights throughout the chamber reconfigured to specific patterns. All Malorian delegates, please proceed to evacuation route Blue. It's been specifically calibrated for your gravitational needs. Ellie announced through the station's communication system, which Marcus had somehow accessed. Exeltray representatives, follow the ultraviolet markers now visible to your compound eyes. The chaos began to organize itself as species-specific evacuation guidance appeared throughout the chamber. How is this possible? Demanded the senior counselor as Ellie guided him toward a protected central area. You've overridden station security. We didn't override it, Ellie corrected. We supplemented it. Earth submitted these emergency protocols through official channels 3 months ago. They were filed away for future consideration. A massive explosion rocked the station, and the lights flickered. Through the main viewport, they could see 3 unmarked vessels firing on Harmony's outer rings. The diplomatic quarters will be their primary target, Ellie explained, consulting her device. They'll expect high-value hostages. As if on cue. Yeah. The chamber doors sealed shut as 6 armed figures teleported directly into the room, the telltale shimmer of illegal transportation technology surrounding them briefly. "Nobody move," shouted the lead pirate, a cybernetically enhanced humanoid whose species was difficult to determine beneath the modifications. "This station is now under the control of the Orion Syndicate." Ellie stepped forward before anyone could stop her. "Actually, it's not." The pirate leveled his weapon at her. "The human has courage. Stupid but admirable." "It's not courage," Ellie replied. "It's preparation." She glanced at her device again and nodded to Marcus, who pressed a sequence of commands. Suddenly, the artificial gravity in the chamber reconfigured into isolated pockets. The pirates, caught in zero-G sections, flailed helplessly, while the delegates remained securely grounded. "What is this?" demanded the lead pirate as he floated upward, his weapon now useless as he spun uncontrollably. "Contingency Plan Row 3, Ellie explained conversationally, specifically designed for Harmony Station's unique gravitational system. "We noticed the emergency protocols could be reprogrammed for sectional gravity control." Ambassador Thalos stared at her in astonishment. "You planned specifically for pirate incursion via teleportation into the council chamber?" Among other scenarios, Ellie confirmed as station security personnel entered through a side entrance she had remotely unlocked. "We also have plans for environmental system failure, hostile biological agents, and that weird space madness that affected the Centauri delegation last year." As the security team secured the floating pirates, the main communication system announced that the attacking vessels had been neutralized by defense systems that had activated from unknown command protocols. Krell approached Ellie as the immediate danger passed. "Your contingency plans appear to extend beyond merely theoretical exercises, Ambassador Winters." "We're thorough," she replied with a slight smile. "And perhaps," admitted the Vosik reluctantly, "the Confederation is fortunate for that thoroughness today." The aftermath of the Orion Syndicate's failed attack created a diplomatic atmosphere unlike anything seen in recent Confederation history. Harmony Station's repair crews worked diligently in the background as the summit reconvened, this time with Earth's delegation seated in a position of significantly greater prominence. Before we return to our scheduled discussions, the senior counselor began. "The Council wishes to formally acknowledge Ambassador Winters and the Earth delegation for their decisive action during yesterday's attack. Their preparedness undoubtedly saved many lives." A murmur of agreement rippled through the assembly, though Ellie noted several delegations still maintained a wary distance. "We are also prepared to reconsider Earth's proposal regarding the Epsilon Quadrant," continued the counselor, "in light of their demonstrated expertise in threat assessment." Ambassador Krell rose from his seat, his massive frame commanding immediate attention. "If I may address the assembly," he began, his translator conveying unexpected notes of respect. "The Vosik Empire has existed for 12 millennia. In that time, we have encountered thousands of emerging species. Few have surprised us as consistently as humans." The chamber fell silent, waiting. Their contingency planning, which I initially viewed as provocative, now appears to be something else entirely, a uniquely human approach to galactic citizenship. They prepare not out of aggression, but out of a peculiar blend of caution and responsibility. Ellie kept her expression carefully neutral, though inside she was thoroughly enjoying this unexpected turn. "The Empire formally withdraws its objection to Earth's increased participation in security protocols," Krell concluded, "though we request fuller transparency regarding their contingencies." Ellie rose to respond. "Earth appreciates Ambassador Krell's perspective. We recognize that our approach has caused concern. In the spirit of transparency, we will establish a secure database accessible to Confederation security officials, outlining the non-classified portions of our preparedness initiatives. She paused, surveying the assembled delegates. However, I must emphasize that Earth maintains these protocols not out of distrust, but because preparation is fundamental to how humans approach uncertainty. We hope for the best while planning for everything else. The Arcturian ambassador's internal lights pulsed thoughtfully. Perhaps there is wisdom in the human approach. The Confederation has grown comfortable in its stability. Yesterday proved that comfort can breed vulnerability. Over the following days, the summit proceeded with a new dynamic. Earth representatives were consulted on security matters, environmental assessments, and cross-species medical protocols. The contingency plans, once viewed with suspicion, were now being studied as potential models for Confederation-wide implementation. On the final evening, during the ceremonial closing reception, Ellie found herself approached by Ambassador Krell, who had apparently consumed enough of his species' fermented mineral drink to become almost cordial. "I remain curious, Ambassador Winters," he rumbled, his scales catching the light as he leaned closer. "The specific contingency you activated against the pirates. How many such specific scenarios has Earth actually prepared for?" Ellie smiled enigmatically. "Let's just say we've been very thorough." "Including scenarios involving the Vosic Empire?" he pressed. "Especially those," she replied without hesitation. "You're one of the Confederation's most powerful members. It would be irresponsible not to have detailed analysis and response strategies ready." Rather than taking offense, Krell made a sound that his translator conveyed as appreciative laughter. "I have served as ambassador for 73 of your Earth years. In that time, I have found diplomatic doublespeak to be the universal language of interstellar relations. Your directness is refreshing." "Humanity has found that being straightforward saves time," Ellie replied. "We're still new enough to find the diplomatic dance exhausting." "The Vosic were once like you," Krell admitted, "before we became comfortable in our power. Perhaps that is why you unsettle the elder species so. You remind us of what we have forgotten." As the reception concluded and delegates prepared to depart Harmony Station, Ellie received an unexpected notification. Earth had been nominated for membership on the Confederation Security Council, a position previously reserved for species with at least 5 centuries of interstellar capability. Marcus was practically bouncing with excitement as he delivered the news. "This is unprecedented. No species has been nominated so quickly after joining the Confederation." "Did they say why?" Ellie asked, though she suspected the answer. "The official statement cites Earth's unique perspective on interspecies security protocols and demonstrated commitment to Confederation stability. Unofficially, I think they'd rather have us where they can see us." Ellie laughed. "Keep your friends close and your potentially over-prepared allies closer." "Something like that," Marcus agreed. "By the way, there was never actually a protocol Omega-7, was there?" Ellie winked as they boarded their ship. "Well, of course there was. Just like there's a contingency plan for being invited onto the Security Council decades ahead of schedule." "And what does that plan recommend?" Marcus asked with genuine curiosity. "Accept graciously, prepare thoroughly, and never let them forget that humans always have a plan B." Ellie settled into her chair as the ship prepared for departure. "And plans C through Z, just in case." As Harmony Station shrank in the viewport, Ellie reflected that humanity's place in the cosmos had fundamentally changed. They had entered the summit as the upstart species still trying to prove its worth. They were leaving as the species other civilizations would think twice about underestimating. Not bad for an accidental revelation and one foiled pirate attack. Sometimes the best diplomatic strategy was simply being exactly who you were, especially when who you were was a species that never went into any situation without a backup plan. Or 12,